to me, having an impact in this country, in the US, as an African, it shows what you're able to do no matter where you are. You have to be that seed that grows no matter where you plant it. Sometimes we think too big, and that's why we're afraid of doing things, right?
Come back to that again. Speak on that again. Sometimes we think our impact should be so grand, it should shake the continent. And so we keep waiting.
Yeah, it doesn't have to. If it does, even if it's a child that you're helping go to school, you're paying the tuition for the kid to go to school. You don't know who that kid will become in a few years.
Wow. Let's get back to it. I want to, this is StemToRoots. I want to talk about Africa.
Yeah.
I want to come back to the book and how it's impacting people. That's important to know, that you didn't write this book in Africa. You right here in the States, you wrote something that is published now and distributed, in West Africa, in Haiti, in Francophone speaking countries. It's just, that impact is just a category of its own. I want to come back to here. There was something you mentioned earlier about just information. You said, hey, there's a lot of things that I knew after that if I knew then, like whether it's from reading. So here you are capturing stuff from books, but you're still in a community of, other Africans that got here before you, other Africans you came here with, ones that came after you. Do you find that level of networking within Africans that around you, where information that is key is being shared, just for the prosperity of all of us? Have you experienced that level of networking?
I want to say no, and I'm very grateful for what you're doing with your podcast, and because I think that's going to be a tool for that. And I think Africans hearing other people and their experiences through what you do is going to be very helpful. You're not from Francophone Africa, but the challenge with Francophone Africa, I want to say, is that we tend to repeat the same mistakes that our parents have made, right? You know how I told you when I came in, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I went into accounting because it was safe, because everybody else was doing it.
Not you alone, yeah.
What I wanted was somebody at that time to tell me, go study English, writing, or whatever you want to do. You can get somewhere with it. That's what I needed. So to me, I would not, if my kid tell me today, I want to go, I don't know, I want to study arts. I'm like, as long as you know what you want to do with your life, with that, go ahead. I'm not going to be like, don't do that. There's no money in it. There's money in everything. It doesn't matter.
My God.
There's money in everything. If you're good at something, you do it because you're good at it, the money will come to you. You don't have to chase chase the money. The money will come to you. So I think this is one thing that I would have loved to hear from other people, because even the people like you in the IT field, there's not many of you. Most people went into finance, accounting, because that's what we knew. That's what was safe.
That's true.
But like I said, it will come back to bite you one day, and you'll have to make the decision to either settle, which a lot of people do. I'm just going to settle. I'm getting old anyway. Or you're like, no. I need to bring this kid back to life.
Be a Huguette.
And then do what that kid inside of me wants me to do. Because otherwise it can be like a life wasted. Like, I think we all have a purpose in this life. And if you're not walking in yours, there are some people who are waiting just for you, and you're not doing what you're supposed to do. I think you're in big trouble.
I can't wipe this grin. Like, I'm being a fan right now. As you're talking, I'm like, it's amazing. Huguette, thank you for what you do. First of all, thanks for mentioning that about the podcast, because we want to have this conversation where people will see the vastness of what our journey has been, right? Yours in so many surprising ways. You're keeping this accounting that quote unquote was imposed on you. And here's why I'm calling it that. We all came from that same background where already, whether it's your parents, whether it's the people around you, are saying, what you want to do? you better do that thing that brings you money,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And especially, coming from our school when we
Yeah.
left when we left Dakar to come here,
Yeah.
that mix of Anglophone and Francophone Africa, we got to have this network and family of just young people that are just starting their career and trying to figure
Yeah.
out what to
Yeah.
do. It's funny you mentioned this because a lot of Francophone African students did finance and accounting. Let's go work for the banks. Let's go for accounting. Let's go for auditing. Let's go for like a lot, right?
Yeah.
And we've seen so many different talents in people that you can pick out. Wow, this person is good at this. This person is good at that. But they all end up doing the same thing. Like you said, some end up settling because it's paying for the bills, it's keeping the family safe, it's what they know because that's what they're trained in, and they will never touch anything else.
Right.
They're not a Huguette, right? So they're not. Here you are finding joy in something that is so impactful. Every day you go to bed, somebody is getting, affected by, impacted by this book that you've written that can change a life that maybe you will never hear it. Thank you.
Yeah.
They will never come to you. You'll never see them. Not that they don't want to say thank you, but they won't link it back to you.
Yeah.
But you're impacting and changing somebody's life. It's unlike correcting those numbers at your county and saying, hey, we've spent too much money on this, blah, blah, blah. And like, this is bigger.
Yeah.
It comes with trauma, like you experienced with our friends that came to you and talked to you about.
Yeah.
If you change the trajectory of somebody's life that way from a book.
Yeah. And it's very humbling. It's very humbling because it is. It's humbling.
That brings me to, are you thinking about, do you already have a next plan on what to write about, next idea? Do you have that already?
Actually, I'm writing another one now on bullying, but again, same thing. But my target, like I said, I feel like some people will say, a lot has already been done in this country. So I'm writing mainly for my people. So, but I still do an English version of the book for anyone here who wants to have a copy. But I write in French and English. But it's like, I want the kids back home to see themselves in books. You don't wanna just be seeing people with long hair, like blonde hair. Yes. Like, you want to see people who look like you.
Yes.
And I think that's one thing. So I'm like, okay, I'm writing something on bullying as well, which is another thing too.
Which is another thing that is not here. There's a lot of sensitization about bullying.
Yes.
Right? Like everywhere you go, it's actually being planted in kids that it's bad.
Yes.
I grew up where this is not mentioned, right? You come home, you talk about maybe somebody beating you up. They'll beat you up for coming home to tell them. I'm telling you.
Especially as a boy, right?
Especially as a boy, you talk about somebody else, beating you up or attacking you at school. They'll beat you up for not dealing with it on your own.
Yeah.
So here's another and bullying affects somebody and traumatizes them the rest of their lives. It can actually change, everything about their life. Yeah. So another huge topic you're tackling, and you're focusing on back home whilst in Kansas.
Yeah.
Fascinating. These are the kind of things we want to talk about here. You're in Kansas, finding a way to impact a lot of lives in Africa, and now you're already mentioning bullying. I'm being a fan. You get? I'm being a fan. Thank you for that.
No problem.
That brings me to the fact that you found a way. Whether it's accidentally, whether it's just following your passion, you find a way to continue to do these things. You're happy with it. That's what you love to do. It's affecting kids at home, and there are other people here, right, that it's not the same for. They're eager to help at home. They're figuring out ways. Yeah. They're quote unquote stuck here because they might want to do something at home, but hey, I can't go home because I won't be able to have that economic kind of like benefit of being able to maximize it and help, right? I'm gonna stay here. but I'm gonna live in guilt and self-pity about how my people are, how I'm not part of the cause, the solution. What do you want to share in addition to doing just a little? Like, is that something that comes in mind at all?
For those people who feel guilty that they're not doing much for...
They're stuck here and they're not doing anything.
I think a lot of us, the experience in this country has not been easy for many of us, right?
Yes.
And I think you can only give what you have. If you're at that point where you're feeling like okay, that guilt, I feel like there's a lot of things in you that still need to be healed, right? So the guilt, you're not responsible for all the problems of Africa, right?
Yes. Okay.
Yes. So you first off focus on yourself and finding yourself where you are right now. And because the guilt is probably coming from another place where probably because you're feeling like I'm not making too much money, I cannot help people. And it's not about money. We tend to relate everything to money. And once our identity is in money, then we struggle a lot in this life. Because there will be times where you wouldn't have a lot of money, but what is your identity in? Is it in the money? Or is it in your family? Is it in your work? Whatever it is.
Yes.
But I think that guilt shows you there's something in you that needs to be healed first. Because you can't fix all the problems of this world.
You can't.
Like I said.
Take them all on.
No, you can't. Yeah. So just, I would say, focus on yourself first. Yeah. Make sure you're right on all levels. And then once you heal, like I said, you can't give something that you don't have.
Yes.
For me, what I have is, okay, I like to write. So that's what I'm giving.
Yes.
I'm giving that because I have that, right? And for you, it can be like, I can't give anything, but I can mentor somebody. I can pick up the phone and call somebody who's probably looking to come here. Like, how, I don't know if you've had a conversation with people back home when you're like, this country is not what you think it is. There are people here who also struggle, and they feel like it's just because you don't want them to come here. How do you mentor people like that? How do you help them understand the realities of this country before they even make the decision to come? Or even if they're staying back home, there's so many things you learn here that you can teach them that will help them in whatever they're doing, whether it's like how to manage your business, which doesn't involve any money. It's just your time. Sometimes it's your time that you need to give to people. That's all.
Huguette. So here. Yeah. So you're saying, thank you. You're saying for that person who has that guilt, and I tie this back to what you mentioned as, don't think about, shaking the continent and so waiting on that. Start small.
Yeah.
You just gave an example where you can give, you can help, you can change lives by not even giving money, by not even, getting to a place where you're rich. Information. You can find somebody to inform.
Yeah.
Share with them what your experience is. If the journey they're about to start is that of coming here. I experienced this thing where, and you also talked about this, and me and friends right around when we were in Boston, we talked about this, that if I knew this, a year ago, or when I just got here, this whole thing would have been different. So you're calling on more Africans to figure out a way to share that information, whether is somebody that's just got here or thinking about coming. You can give a whole wealth, of knowledge, of information that can actually change, where they end up landing.
Yeah, absolutely. And even amongst ourselves here, things that I don't know, right? You like just sharing that information. And like I said, I like what you're doing with this platform. And I pray it goes even further than this, where we have this community of people who are sharing what they know so it can help others. Because keeping information to yourself is, why would you keep it to yourself?
It's useless.
It's useless.
You know more than what you know about that specific information. Right. Just spread it, and then you will know more. Right. You're a star. When last did you go home?
I was, what year are we? 2023? 2021.
2021. Oh, wow. You made it there in the middle of the pandemic.
Yes, I did, actually.
You made it there in the middle of the pandemic.
Yeah.
In thinking about home, so you went home recently, just about 2 years ago. You've always known home. You have family at home. Your last visit, there's this thing that I call magnet and repellent. Did you find things that were just that magnet for you? Like, oh, this is pulling me. Oh, I missed this. Oh, look at all of this. Right? And did you find things that were repellent? Oh, this has got to change. This is. Are there any examples of that?
That's a very good question. Of course, magnet will be the way people live, like simply, right? It's the people, community, and all that.
Yes.
What I would call, as I would say, was like a repellent is this. And again, I'm not saying this applies to everyone,
of course, yes.
The mindset, the victim mindset, right? Always trying to blame someone for what's going wrong, for what you're going through, right? And this is one thing that my boss, who used to be in the army, and I think he says he thinks he got this from the army. He told me, if there's one thing in my life that I refuse to be, is a victim. I'm never a victim. Like something happens to me, I will try to find out, okay, what can I do so this doesn't happen to me anymore? But I'm not going to be like blaming people for, okay, this is the reason why this happened to me. This person is the reason why this happened to me, and all that. And when I'm talking about victim, I'm not even going to like the larger scale of people blaming other countries, like in Francophone Africa is blaming France for everything that is happening to us.
Yes.
But at the same time, you have people who come in power. They're not French, but they will treat you worse than the French people. So that's another story. But I'm even talking about some people that I left there a few years ago who are still in the same position, will still come to you and ask for money, despite all the like many occasions you kind of help them. Like some people will tell you, can you send me money so I can start this business? And you go back home and you realize that business never started. And
they won't even give you an update on, how things went.
The business doesn't exist. So I think we need to, as African, wherever we are, we need to get out of that victim mentality and just own everything that we do. Own it. And that starts by sharing information. The reason why people are able to divide us is because they know that we keep information to ourselves. We don't share it.
Wow.
So otherwise, would you divide people who are like work as a community, who help each other? You can't divide those kind of.
So you went home and you still felt the existence of that.
Yeah, I still felt the existence of that, and
this is common across Africa. So it is. I've spoken to a lot of people by now. I have my own experiences where once somebody finds who to blame for what condition they're in. It actually, so recently, here on StemToRoots, like I put this, controversial kind of like, there's this phenomenal lady, her name is Huguette Wad, who has had this conversation, with this guy, what's his name, Jordan Peterson. Jordan Peterson. And she mentioned how Africa should, get away from that, colonization blame. I'll blame the colonizers. Let's get over it, right? So some are sensitive about hearing her say, let's get over it and just move on. And some are saying, yes, it's time to move on from that. And I see that a lot. Whether it's Gambia, whether it's Burkina, whether it's Ivory Coast, if you can blame France, we can blame the British even more because, maybe you're even lucky the French had this interest of collaborating. The British just came to take, right? So we can blame the British all day. But what can we do right now in order to say, let's focus on what we are able to do for ourselves right now. So you're not alone. This is across Africa, and I hope, as we talk about this, we start shifting from, all right, whilst that exists, let's find a way to put it, a place to put it, and focus on what we can do for ourselves.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's no surprise that you mentioned that.
Yeah.
Right. So you have family. You mentioned your son. Do you feel? And this is why I'm bringing it. This is as a parent, right? Like here I am. I have two of my own that I'm trying to figure out. Do you see them missing anything that you gained just by growing up in Africa that is key for them to gain and they can only get by growing up in Africa? Is there anything relevant at all that you've ever thought about?
That's that's a tough one.
Huh.
I want to say at first I thought so, but then I made it a goal to expose them to Africa as much as possible.
Yeah.
Right. For me, as when we travel, like they see everything that goes on in there. They enjoy our trips there.
Yeah.
Just, I don't know, things have changed so much though, right?
Yes.
I don't know, growing up the way we used to be playing like freely everywhere and nobody worried about anybody. Like with everything that is going on back home now, the children abductions and all that, you don't see kids doing the things that we used to do like that anymore. Everyone is like, like people are like, okay, my kids are not going to the neighbor like they used to go. Like now everyone is like, things have changed quite a bit. I don't know if it came with development. I don't know what it is, but I think I try my best through just trips there, books, and just having them stay in contact with family to make sure that they're not missing out. Like my kids, what makes me proud is like when they go to school and then people, they like to talk about their African.
Where they're from?
They like to talk about it. And I think when you have that, you're doing a good job. And for me too, because being from Francophone Africa, one thing that I do with my kids, like I'm making sure that they're learning French too, because they don't speak French in school, but you have to if you know how to speak French, at least when you go back home,
it can only benefit them. You won't harm
it can only
them at
benefit
all.
you. But I really don't think they need to be there. And that's just my personal opinion. I don't think they need to be there to benefit from what, like, things have changed quite a bit. But
thanks for highlighting that. So basically, you're saying if things were how you experienced it, that is something you'll feel, they're missing that, because I can relate, because I grew up, at an age where, you don't have, your parents hovering around to make sure you're safe. As soon as you get home from school or on the weekend, they don't see you. Maybe they can hear you from far away, but they know you're around and you're safe, right? If our environment has changed, this is years and decades. This is, I don't want to age us. This is this is our childhood was a long time ago, and a lot of things have changed. So that thing that you feel like, it would be good for my kids to experience is not the same anymore.
Right. Exactly.
And so if they're not missing on an example like that, then there's a lot more you can give them that will connect them to home. And that's that. I feel the same way. I really can relate. And as much as parents, I hope here at StemToRoots, as we share this and we know we have our kids here, we don't feel that level of, I'm raising my kids away from the continent, and so they will be lost.
Right.
If we actually put a focus on connecting them at home, just like you mentioned, as much as possible, whether it's staying in touch, whether it's showing them, whether it's making trips at home, whether, it's, like in your case, language that they can see the difference between all the English they speak and this French must come from somewhere where my mother is from. I know they will grow up not only cultured, but, feel a sense of connection and not be lost.
Yeah. And even teaching the values that you grew up with, right? Values are that your values didn't stay in Africa when you moved here, right? You can teach them those values. Like your kids don't have to behave like the neighbor's kids because they're in America. you can teach them those values. So I think that's one thing
wow. I spoke to Habib not a long time ago. I spoke to Habib from Benin, who said something similar. Whatever has been instilled in him from his parents, right? It's not something that I'm in America now. I can throw it away. So he can put that in his kids, without them being at home, and still have a level of like that culture, that connection to home, whilst in America.
Yeah.
So we're not losing much by being here.
No,
and I'm not saying that so that we'll feel good.
No, we're not. I really don't think we are. So.
Huguette, I cannot believe this is where we are. There's a lot of solutions you mentioned. There's a lot of things you touched on that I feel like our people will benefit from. From do it small. Don't think about bringing world change. That might be too much for your head. Just do a little. You give practical examples. You give things that you are doing with your passion, that inner child that brought you to the pen and paper. Do we still do that? Do you still do pen and paper? No. To the typing, whatever brought you to that. You in Kansas, I don't know why you're in Kansas. You in Kansas are having such an impact. And we're talking about books here. Books will outlive you, for sure. So being able to do that and help whilst here, nobody has an excuse. So for everybody just waiting for that major move, start here, like you said. Follow what your joy. Because even when you started writing that book, you didn't know a publisher will see it, take all that work from you, publish all these books, distribute it across West Africa, Africa, and Haiti. You didn't know that. You just followed your passion, wrote your little book, started with your son.
Absolutely.
And look at you having global impact already. Thank you for that. I wanted to highlight that as I sum this up, because there's a lot of benefit. You dropped a lot of gems, and I hope somebody else will hear this and actually go, all right, I'll still do my accounting. I'll still do my finance. But, I love singing. I love,
right.
I love, cooking. Let me do something with this. And actually, I'll put the book out there. I'll put the cover as I publish this. Let people see the book, and I hope people will find the level of benefit it's already impacting those that have it in their hand.
Thank you.
For those that have family, so for those that are yet to have kids, have this book. You look at it and give it as a present to your child, because you can only gain, nothing to lose there.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for doing this with me.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you. It's been a pleasure. Thanks for having me.